All right, so we're going to go ahead and do question number 2. Again, my question number 2 might not be like your question number 2, but this one says solve the system. Tell whether it has one solution, infinite solutions, or no solution. Um, from first look, you probably can't tell if it has one infinite or none. So you're going to have to go ahead and try to solve for this problem. Looking at it, I see one equation in standard form, and I see one equation with y equals. Um, when you have an isolated variable like the y equals, then that's when you're going to be using substitution. Now, you don't have to use substitution, but it's probably your best bet. So that's the first way that we are going to solve for this. So I'm going to come over here. I've written this equation down. Using substitution, I'm going to take this problem and I'm going to replace y in the first one. So remember, when we replace it, we're going to use a parentheses and make the parentheses kind of nice and big, and then equals 3. And instead of y, we're going to write what y represents now. Y represents negative 2x plus 6. So inside here, we're going to write negative 2x plus 6. It's a terrible x, but fix it. First step is I need to distribute. So I have x. Negative 2 times negative 2x is a positive 4x. Negative 2 times a positive 6 is a negative 12 equals 3. We're going to combine like terms. So I have 5x minus 12 equals 3. I'm going to add 12 here, add 12 here. I get 5x equals 15. And we're going to say x equals 3. Okay. Now that we have x equals 3, we need to go ahead and find y. We'll just plug that right back into this first equation right here. So we're going to say y equals negative 2, not x anymore, but 3 plus 6. So we have y equals negative 6 plus 6. Negative 6 plus 6 equals 0. So y is 0, x is 3. We're going to come back to our problem. Y is 0, x is 3, x is 3, y is 0. That is this problem right here, one solution, and there is my correct answer. Now, let's say that I didn't want to do substitution. I hate it, I don't like it, whatever. I can solve this another way. So we're going to go ahead and kind of backtrack a little bit here. I can solve this another way. Maybe I want to graph. Maybe I'm a person that really loves to graph, and I want to do that instead. So we can totally go ahead and graph. What we're going to do is we are going to, in order to graph, we have to get both y equals. Do we have both y equals? No, we don't. Not right now. So we're going to change this equation to look like y equals. Okay. In order to do that, we've got to move the x to the other side. So our very first step is to subtract x on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to have 2y equals 3. Minus x. That gives me negative 2y equals negative x plus 3. Then we're going to divide everything by negative 2, which kind of stinks, but that's okay. We have y equals negative x divided by negative 2 is technically negative 1x divided by negative 2. So negative 1 divided by negative 2 is just 1/2. So 1/2 x, and then positive 3 divided by negative 2 is a negative 1.5. Now that we have these both in y equals, I can go ahead and graph them. Once I graph them, I can go ahead and find out that my y-intercept, or my intercept of the two, would be exactly like our last equation. So we would have x equals, y equals, etc. So I'm going to give you a third alternative way really quickly on how to solve this question, because I know that sometimes, you don't like the first two ways. So very last way I'm going to show you is to use the answer choices to see if they work. So how are we going to do that? Well, we have infinite solutions and no solution. Infinite means they're identical lines. Obviously, these two are not identical lines, so we can, and no solution means they have identical y-intercepts, or identical slopes. They do not have identical slopes. This slope is negative 2x. This slope, if you look back on the last problem, you'd find out that the slope of the top one is a positive 1/2 x. 1/2 does not equal negative 2, so no solution does not work. So we could plug in, though, one solution, this one or this one. So I'm going to write both of them down. I'm going to write that the first option was 0, 3, and the second option was 3, 0. Okay, now we know that a coordinate is x comma y. So technically, we're going to say x is 0, y is 3, or x is 3, y is 0. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's try the first equation. First equation is this one here. So I'm going to plug in 0 into x, and I'm going to plug in 3 into y, and I want to see if it works. So ready? 0 minus 2 times 3 equals 3. Is that true? 0 minus 6 equals 3. Is that true? No, that is not true. So we know that this does not work. Let's go ahead and try the opposite. Let's plug in 3 into x and 0 into y. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to backtrack just slightly. We're going to try the second one. We're going to try 3 into x, 0 into y. 3 minus 2 times 0 equals 3. 3 minus 0 equals 3. Is that true? Sure is. We already know our correct answer. Yay, hooray.